And good evening, everyone. And looks like I'm going to be flying solo for the rest of you guys for the rest of the evening. I'm Garry Redmond, and welcome to episode 101. Yeah, last week was 100. That was, of course, our watershed moment, and now we have one more to add to that. Carlos Cano, and wait. We might have and our partners now coming in, and it's like we had a terrific weekend. I mean, absolutely perfect, right? Just about every team that we were rooting for won. So that's probably the reason what so we're going to talk about the recap, of course, New York Red Bulls against Inter Miami C.F. And of course, we're going to get you ready for our next destination, which is Orlando City versus New York Red Bulls. And that's going to be a tough test. We haven't really done very well down there in the Tragic Kingdom, and so we're facing off the Iron Lion crew, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about New York Red Bulls 2. They had their home opener. New Jersey, New York Gotham FC. They were on the road versus Portland. They did pretty well. And, of course, the United States men's national team, 3-time CONCACAF champions. We'll talk about that, of course, after the break. Of course, naturally, we have all of you, and if you're on for a live show, can't wait for all your hot takes for this evening about all the games in particular. We're going to also have our bold prediction, which is really the dangerous part of our show. And we're going to discuss all of that as well. Of course, if you missed the live show, which is going on right now, you can always catch the recording on YouTube, Gold TV, and, of course, Spotify.com. And all of our episodes are uploaded the very next day for all your watching and listening pleasure. And if you have any feedback about our show, any suggestions, positive or otherwise, drop us a line. We love to read them. We need to make this show better than we do on every episode. So please give us a shout out at our email address at rbdgthepodcast@gmail.com. That's rbdgthepodcast@gmail.com. Well, I said there was going to be, I posted a little thing, of course, on the discussion group, right? It said, blow that horn. We won the weekend. Well, we have a bet that's going on with my cousin of someone that if his team, either team wins, whatever points that we get to blow our horn, whatever the case may be. But City lost to Cincinnati. We won naturally over Miami, so we win the weekend. So blow that horn. There you go. So that's something that we're going to do. Everyone, hashtag we won the weekend. And so I'm going to bring, of course, my crime partner for the evening, the one and only Miguel Nunez. How was your weekend, brother? I know you had a great weekend. I mean, except what happened to your football club in England, man? What's going on with them? I haven't heard peep from them in about a couple of weeks. Or you usually come on the show bragging and boasting about that. They okay?
No. It's international break.
So okay. There you go.
Yeah. This coming weekend is the big one versus Man City.
That's a match you guys cannot lose. Okay. All of the clubs right now, looking at the East, we're going to talk about the EPL for just a little second. If I'm not mistaken, all of the clubs are basically separated by 4 points.
The top three.
Yeah.
The top three, they're like, is it 4? It might be 3.
Yeah.
I haven't looked.
Points?
Yeah. So then,
Arsenal
need to win.
Yeah, they basically they need to win to keep pace. That's how tight things over in England. Meanwhile, over in Harrison, once again, fans were trapped into another monsoon. Pitch held up very nice. The Red Bulls held up very nice, and everybody was expecting a blowout, coming from Inter Miami, but then somebody decided to turn things around. Before we even go into the highlights and everything else, Miguel, what was you expecting in this game? What were you thinking, before kickoff at this point? At that point?
No, you know what? I was thinking we were going to be competitive because Inter wasn't going to have the GOAT, Lionel Messi. Okay. Little did I know they were missing like 9 guys, man.
12 people were missing.
Oh, from their team?
Everyone between both teams.
Yeah.
12
because
people.
we were missing Forsberg and Ellie. So I said
You were
to
missing
myself,
5.
Yeah. So then I thought we would be competitive because we were at home, okay, and they were missing their top guy. I thought it would be much closer than what it was, okay.
Okay.
But then again, maybe the weather had something to do with it. I don't know. I don't know what your opinion is on the matter, because it was like a monsoon.
I was on the Inter Miami podcast, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking that maybe Suarez and the rest of the quartet for Barcelona was going to just basically run roughshod over, roughshod over, of course, our kids. But then something went, something happened, occurred to me. And then they mentioned this on the podcast. I said, you know what? We're a young club. Yes. But here's the thing about young clubs. They're very athletic. They're not going to sit still. We do have guys off the bench that can play. I'm not guaranteeing there's going to be a blowout, as I said at the time. But when you have, the one player that this is what I left him with, the one player that I would be concerned with, because they asked me, who on the Red Bulls do you think that we should be concerned about? I said it right then and there. Lewis Morgan. He's going to remind you when you cast him away. I mean, I know you folks didn't want him to leave, but he's ours now, and he's quite happy to be here. But if there's one guy who is going to be a real pain and a thorn on your side, it's going to be him. And I'd say watch out for him. And then 3 minutes in, Miguel, 3 minutes in, I was proven right.
It's going to be a clash of styles, and it's going to be all about who can, emphasize their style really early on. Is it Miami with the possession, or is it Red Bulls with the way and the ability that they have to go forward in the transition?
Dylan Nealis, this ball dummied ahead. This is Lewis Morgan with a shot. Goal! His blistering start to 2024 continues. Third of the year. Morgan and the Red Bulls running early. They have a 1-0 lead.
But it's really, really poor from Miami. They don't set themselves up from Red Bull's throw. And then you see the ball when it eventually comes in here. This is what you want to see. 2 centre forwards. Can you link up? So you see Van Zyl, when the ball eventually comes to him, he's in an onside position. He's taken Crifts off with him. That leaves the space then for Morgan, who runs off Aviles and puts the ball into the back of the net. It's wonderful movement from Morgan. Great awareness as well from Van Zyl, who keeps himself onside.
Now, of course, the link up between him and Van Zyl, it was basically a beauty to watch. And there will be more of that in the 51st minute, shortly after halftime. And the weather was horrible. I mean, it was raining sheets. On top of that, it was cold. So we're all huddled in the press box, freezing, okay, thinking about maybe we should all just head back inside. I stuck around for a bit because as long as the wind wasn't blowing on our tables and everything, we was able to do some work. But then in the 51st minute, Morgan again.
Morgan, pressure on Klitsov. Given away, taken back, Amaya to the foot of Van Zyl. Morgan looking for number 2, got it! The Red Bulls, great Scott with 2 against his former team today.
But this is all about, I just said it a minute ago, Red Bulls dominating through the middle. Miami want to play through the middle. You can play through the middle, but you know what? You're going to give the ball away. And when they give the ball away, they're out of shape. And that ball comes to Morgan. He knows exactly what he wants to do. He doesn't put his foot through it. He knows that he can just caress it into the bottom corner.
And as you can see, he was off and running. One thing that you were noticed or not, Miguel, did you see how, did you see how Suarez looked throughout the entire game? He was stiff as a board. I mean, he looked miserable, dude. Absolutely miserable. I mean, he did not want to be here. I mean, it took him a long time for him to get acclimated, but he had to fight through the rain. He had to fight through the cold. His body language was basically saying, "Get me out of here."
Yeah, you know what, Gary? I will add that that's the analysis that I would have. But also, if you notice, we scored, and their whole team was like, come on.
If I was an Inter Miami supporter, I'd be upset, right?
What was that?
I mean, it was like, this is not going to be all day.
There was nobody there.
You got Jordi Alba. I mean, there was one guy sitting behind us. So you got Jordi Alba, you got Busquets, and you got Suarez. We should be mopping the floor with this team. No, not quite. I mean, it got so crazy. Then we have Carmona basically wanted to join in the fun.
One back by Red Bull. Morgan trying to keep this ball in play. If he can, maybe something brewing. Able to keep it alive. Time for Miami, though, to get back. Morgan wins an individual battle. Wants Van Zier, and a shot goal! Wiki Carmona to make it a 3-0 game.
Staviles higher up the pitch. It wasn't given. Morgan, first of all, he has no right to keep that in. Then he has no right to get the better of the defender here that's coming back. And then he plays the ball back. His perseverance is incredible. Van Zier keeps it alive. And then Carmona in the right place at the right time. But this is all about Morgan. It's interesting. Does he keep this ball in? Oh, I think he does. I'm sure it's something that they're going to look at. But his perseverance and then his strength to get the better of Gressel. It's an incredible bit of play from Morgan, arguably better than the 2 goals he scored.
That brought the house down. It really did. It brought the house down. I mean, that was basically an MVP performance. Kept the ball alive, got it to the box. They had numbers there, Miggy, and up steps Carmona saying, "Hi, I'll take this to go." There you go. And it's 3-0. At this point, and Van Zier yet with another assist. How you look, and you notice that the goalkeeper was banging his head on the post after the goal. I mean, it was a dream start to a dream game despite the bad weather, and it got better after that. I mean, at this point, you're looking at the game and you're going, where was this against Columbus? But that's fine. I mean, Columbus is an elite side. But the bounce back was nice. You agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think the performance that they put in against Miami did a lot to get their minds off of that terrible performance in Columbus. Okay. And another thing, Gary, I think a few weeks back, I was calling, if Lewis Morgan was truly recovered from his hip issue, he was going to be like a new signing, and so far it's proven to be like that, Garrett.
As advertised, as you predicted.
And also Dante Van Zier, he got 4 assists.
Yes, he did.
My goodness, has any other player ever gotten 4 assists in MLS?
None.
I don't know.
We looked at the records. No other player, either on the Metro Stars or on the Red Bulls, had ever gotten 4 assists. Speaking of that 4th assist, he and Morgan hooked up one more time.
Opportunity here. Campana, top of the 18. Referee let the contact go. Leo Campana down in transition the other way. Van Zier shrugs off Allen. Dante Van Zier squares it. Lewis Morgan, number 3.
Challenge. You just see Duncan, he comes across, wins the ball, and after this it is all systems go. All systems go, and it's that man Van Zier who's also been a brilliant double act with Morgan, and then Morgan says, "Give me the ball," and he does the rest. He gets his hat-trick. He's had a part to play in every single goal. He has been a man on a mission this afternoon, and Red Bulls have been.
That was some play. That was some play by Van Zier. Let me tell you, the ball from the back was beautiful, but Van Zier, he showed such strength to hold off that Miami guy. The guy from Miami pushed him, Garry, and he went nowhere. He just continued with the play. Fantastic.
Final score: New York Red Bulls 4, Inter Miami 0. And complete washout, if you want to call it. With Inter Miami, a lot of folks came in. They wanted to see. I mean, I ran into a lot of guys wearing Barcelona shirts. They wanted to see their Barcelona guys. Credit to Miami. They try to push things at the back only for them to fall on top of themselves. But there was no way. They did get they thought they got a goal back, but it was waved off, mainly because somebody was offside when that happened. So when it really comes down to it, the Red Bulls are rolling again. You want to see this team to bounce back, and bounce back they did. And so the question here is, okay, Morgan is doing his thing. Van Zier, he's doing this thing. I think we're going to be seeing, thanks to those efforts, Morgan's at the top of the list in the Golden Boot race, and not far behind. Van Zier has the most assists. So maybe we're seeing we're seeing a terrific combo between the two, and we yet to have a top flight striker to add to that. Now imagine if the Red Bulls were able to snag someone by this summer. Okay, I'm not saying it is going to happen, but Miguel, think about it. Okay, they grab someone like that. Are we talking Eastern Conference contenders?
Yeah, if we had a top striker, Garry, come on, a top striker, okay, to partner Van Zier, come on, we would be scoring so many goals. Forsberg serving them on a plate.
Just being the point guard. Dish.
Yeah.
Get deep. Excuse me. Get deep into the defense and dish. This is something that I've been salivating for a long time. How about you guys listening in the in the live audience? Can you imagine what could possibly what the possibilities is if we can able to get it, players like that don't grow on trees, okay? And if you're able to grab somebody who's on the falling out of a club, it's going to cost money. There's just no way around it. It's going to cost money. So, it's a tough slug, but I'm sure the Red Bulls can able to find someone even than Huckney. And Mark coming in, of course, with the fans here. Suarez is lucky he didn't receive a second yellow. Ref let the entire flock of flamingos spend too much time arguing calls. Yeah, they were basically in the referee's face when things were basically falling apart. Okay, all around them. Inter Miami was just simply, they didn't have an answer for anything. They was just flopping around all over the place, getting a card and everything else. They just wasn't having it. Remember, they will face Inter Miami one more time in May down in St. Petersburg. We'll see. Messi will probably be back. Who knows? But I'm going to ask this question to each and every one of you, including you, Miguel. Without Messi, without Messi, do you think Inter Miami is just an ordinary team, or did they just simply the Red Bulls just catch them on a bad day?
You know what? I think it's a little bit of both. I think I think it was a bad day because of the weather. Okay, first of all, but then it seems that they don't have the motivation when Messi's not there. Okay. The body language that I saw, I think it tells me that they're not very motivated unless Messi's on the field. I don't know what you think about that.
I think that's terrific. I mean, right now the fortress is a fortress again. And I agree with this with Lisa. I'm not saying we're going to win the cup this year, but I do think we can make our home the fortress again. Anytime when you start off the season undefeated at home, that's good vibes. Okay, it's very good vibes. Remember where other teams just waltz right in and get points off this squad, and we're like, what the hell? We're all scratching our heads from that. I don't think we're seeing that this time around. And they're really making sure that it would be great if we can go undefeated at home. That will give the fans something to crow about. We're going to lose at home in one of these matches, one way or another. But you cannot deny that the start is good. And I don't want to put any cold water on this. I want people to enjoy the ride, enjoy the good vibes and everything else, because this is good. But now next week, once again, there's another tough hill we have to climb, and that is Orlando City. Last time we saw these guys, they beat us. They beat us pretty well. Okay. Orlando City defeated Austin FC 2-0 for their first win of the season. So they're hurting a little bit right now. Okay. You think that they got their season basically started off rough. Okay. Their new stadium is now called Chase Stadium, by the way. Excuse me. They went on a road to Inter Miami. They got pasted 5-0. Then they lost to Minnesota. And they finally, Atlanta came in, slapped them 2-0 over at the Benz. And now they finally got their first win of the season. So a team that I had listed personally 4th overall, Miguel, is on a rough way right now. Another team that we can catch them, catch them in a bad day. But this time, we won't be missing a lot of players. The international schedule will be over. We'll be getting some of our regular players back. That includes Mr. Forsberg. And then we will really see how good this offense is. You got Morgan coming now, rolling into form. You definitely have, Van Zier also rolling into form. You see any issues with Inter Miami? Forget Inter Miami. Do you see any issues with Orlando other than the fact that they're going to try to win another one in front of the home folks?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I really haven't followed them this season as far as watching them play. Okay, so I don't know how good they are as far as what they were last season. But they've been a pretty good team in the last few years, and they're playing at home. So all our guys are going to have to have a better game that they had at Columbus for us to win.
They finished second last year, and in case you're wondering, in the Eastern Conference table. Right now, they are sitting 13th. They are sitting where we were last year. Actually, where we were last year. So they're stumbling out the gate a little bit. Okay. Meanwhile, while they have their first win, we only have our only loss. Okay, versus Columbus. Okay. So we're flying right now. So this is Lon Ray saying stop the count. I mean, this is it's a crazy game. But one thing about Orlando at home, they're tough to beat, regardless of where their record is. They're very tough to beat. I honestly believe that we have the offense, and I'm very confident in the defense to see it, to get us a point. If they can get a point on the road, great. Keep it going. If they can get a win, I think the fans will be literally over the moon. But we've had issues with the Iron Lion crew down there in the city, what they call the City Beautiful. That's what they call Orlando down there. We got friends and family down there in Orlando. They're going to be showing up in red amongst the purple. It's this is part of a really tough schedule, because right after them, right, we're also on the road versus FC Cincinnati. We're not going to talk about them very much because we know how much of a of a rough riders those guys are. But I'll ask everybody in the audience right now. Potvin is telling say Columbus is on a different level. Hope Orlando is still sputtering this weekend. I don't think they're going to be sputtering for long. They seem to enjoy playing playing against us. Just remember their coach. He knows how to get their guys motivated to win, and they were able to do that last year. It's funny about this league, Miguel. Last year, many of these clubs that we're facing, except for Columbus, they're in they're in another level. I mean, we can't catch those guys yet. But a lot of the other clubs that we're going to be facing, there's going to be, right, a telltale sign. If they can able to get past these next 2 months, and I'm talking about the Red Bulls in general, we're in a good slate out in spring. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I want us to be in a good position until we get into the summer months. Hopefully, Gary, I still hope and pray to the soccer gods that they weren't kidding about making these really good signings, okay? Because I'm fully expecting for them to get us a forward, what do you call it? A difference maker up top, Gary. Okay.
Well,
I don't know if I'm going to be foolish to wish that. Okay, but let's see. Okay.
Well, John Amaral kind of disagrees with you. If Dante and Morgan plays together like this, you don't need a new striker. But is this real for the long term? Sandro likes Morgan up top, it seems. Me personally, John, I like to have some cover. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I know if they continue to play like this, we may not need it, but we still need a home run hitter. We're going to be, down the year, we're going to be running into some rough defenses, guys who know how to put people in the box, as you saw with Columbus last year. I'm expecting the same with FC Cincinnati. Remember, we haven't played Philly yet, and those dudes, we haven't beaten them in a while. Okay, I haven't beaten them at home, and I'm talking about down in Chester, since 2018. So there's a lot of tough games on the schedule. It's going to get easier after this stretch, and then it gets harder after that. But you can't say, you can't say that you don't like what you see, because a lot of fans are liking what they're seeing. And Vincent Escobar saying a forward and a right mid will get this team to the next level. Speaking of, right mid, Frankie Amaya stepped up his game beautifully. I thought he would probably be missing in action. He wasn't. You're going up against Jordi Alba, okay, and all those guys, but yet you was able to dance around them in the rain. I think we're a little thankful that all of those guys are just a step slow. The game got a little better for Inter Miami when they started inserting guys like Campana and all those young kids. That's when things quicked up. But I would say that would be their glaring weakness, because I talked with Anthony Merced. He was sitting right next to me. He said, hey, without Messi, Inter Miami is a terrible team. Orlando is not a terrible team. They're a good side. They're just having a rough go at it right now. And that game, of course, will be on Saturday at 7:30. Carlos Cano, who could not make it tonight. No, excuse me. The other person is going to meet me. I'm sorry. Helene Kraft Rudolph will be the game thread host for that match. Of course, we'll talk about predictions for that for the Orlando match. Of course, after the break. So,
hey, also Gary, I do want to say one thing. I don't know if you remember last year, but we went down to DC in similar weather at one point.
I was there.
We scored five. If you remember correctly.
We do well when it rains.
So then, listen, I hope and pray that there are monsoons every time we play.
Down in Florida, you might want to change your mind.
I'm talking about even here. Thank you very much. All
I mean, you bring in a guy and you said Dante and Morgan for prolonged time. Def is fine, but if the tandem is real, you don't break them up. I agree. And that's why I said, John, earlier, that you got to get the right guy. You got to get, what I like to see is an offensive diamond up top. Okay. And you got to get the right guy that can able to put all those pieces together, because if you don't, that guy can be an albatross that's going to mess things up. You're going to have, guys running, that's what you have right now. If you put, Elias up top as a lone striker, not going to work. I mean, although he'll get in position, you can't count on him to make a shot. Don't get me started on Corey Burke. Okay? Don't get me started. He's on my milk carton list for a reason. In fact, both of those guys are. So if you're going to bring in a natural forward that can able to enhance, not debilitate that offensive lineup, I think the Red Bulls can go places, because you want to bring in somebody that can scare defenses. And right now, the guy defense is a little nervous. I want them petrified whenever we get the ball. Okay. I don't, I want fans on their feet when they get, when they get the ball. I want fans excited when they get, when we get the ball and rush down, where a goal isn't a matter of if, but when. This was just one game against one team. To see that in a consistent basis, you're going to see a lot more butts in the seats. And that's just me saying, oh yeah, we do owe Burke a big fat thanks for the for the goal, for the own goal versus Jamaica. Yeah, there you go.
Well, he scored. He scored at both ends. He scored for Jamaica and against
Jamaica.
So, there you go.
Yeah, thanks very much. So yeah, we got to give him a piece of the trophy for for the goal against his own, who's probably right now. I hope he's not going down to Kingston. They'll murder him for this. Those boys are rough down there.
And let me just make a comment that there was a Tyler Adams golazo.
Oh, we're going to talk about
former Red Bull. Okay,
so this is another reason why we're sitting pretty and feeling mighty proud this weekend. Okay, we're going to talk about that. Okay, after the break, but first, some scores after Week 6 of Major League Soccer. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Helene Kraft Rudolph, of course, will be at your service, of course, for that particular match Saturday afternoon versus Orlando City. And after that, of course, is FC Cincinnati after that. But let's talk about New York Red Bull 2. Oh, those kids at the campus, they had their home opener, and it was a wild one. No rain, plenty of cold, but no rain. And they had a 3-1 lead and somehow let it slip. Okay, to the game ended, of course, ended in the 3-3 draw. But remember, this is Next Pro, where they have penalty kicks shortly after that. And the Red Bull 2 won, 4-3 in penalty kicks. And so they were able to get yet another win. They played their first game, of course, against Columbus, beat them. Then they played their second game here against Inter Miami C.F. 2, and now they finish off the season so far undefeated. How are you feeling about these young kids, Miguel?
I'm feeling pretty good, except that but once again, we've discussed this even last season. I don't know that they're getting like the toughest games, that in comparison to USL competition. That's all,
Well, yeah. I mean, they're basically playing against kids their age. I mean, playing against grown men, in USL, toughen them up, really for coming into the next stage. But you cannot deny Ibrahim Sagaya's, this is his squad for better or worse, and he's doing a magnificent job.
Yeah.
He's an assistant coach with the senior team. He's taking basically the two team literally under this wing, and they're playing better. They really are. Yeah. And I agree with Mark. They look good, but it was a disappointing Steve going a 2-goal lead. I mean, it was, I looked at this and I was like, wait. You guys had 3-1. What the heck is going on here? You need to toughen up, the one thing, they're a younger crew than the first team. But one thing they have to do is they have to find a way to close out games because remember, after their next game after this is FC Cincinnati 2 on the 28th. That's going to be 6 o'clock. And then on April 2nd, it's NYCFC 2 in the U.S. Open Cup. That's going to be a stiff test. They're playing well as well. I will be at Belson Stadium to check that out.
That's in New York City. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's in Queens.
Turf, right? Turf Stadium?
Turf field, just like ours. Their field sits on top of a parking lot, not unlike ours. Their parking lot's right next door. But it's going to be a good crowd. You're talking about two very good young programs, literally on the cusp of doing something greater, and they have some young young lions on both sides. This is going to be fun. And of course, Mr. Coach reminds us. Reminder by next 2 points. Wins in regulation, 3 points. PKs and shootout, and the loss. Just like in hockey, you get 1 point each. Okay, so it's it's definitely it's a system that it takes very much to get used to, Lisa. But it is what it is. Hey, all I know is they got a number 2 under wins in that column, and there's no losses, so we can't hate that. Speaking of starting the season undefeated, the champs, New Jersey, New York, Gotham FC. Well, they started their home game, of course, versus the San Diego Wave. That was supposed to be the Challenge Cup. Dropped that decision thanks to a header, none other, game that Miss Morgan, another Morgan, then dropped that decision. So they went west to Portland, Soccer City as it is, and well, just like they did in the playoffs, Miguel, a 1-0 win for New Jersey, New York, Gotham FC. Esther Gonzalez in the 72nd minute with the lone tally. And so they start off their defense, their title defense on a good note. Okay. 9 shots on target. 9 shots, 6 on target. Basically, it was a 50-50 game. They had a great time handling one of the kids from Portland, and she was just all over, but threatening, yelling, and screaming, and everything else, and trying to, and they held for me. How did they hold her scoreless? I have no idea. But they come away with a 1-0 win. Their next game after this, of course, is versus the North Carolina Courage. That's on the 30th. That game is the 7th. Their next home game will be their home opener, April 14th, 6 o'clock. I'm going to be at that game. What about you?
I'm going to go. I got to support the ladies this season. Yeah,
we have to show our face and show our face at the ladies. We talk about them so much and everything else. We got to be there and stuff like that. So the baddies, they got one under the win, definitely under the win column. Lisa said I can go for once. Midge is hurt, unfortunately. Thanks a lot for that. That update, John. That's the bad news. She took a bad knock above the kneecap. Hopefully, it isn't too bad, but she may not make this match versus NC Courage. And so it was a very jam-packed soccer weekend, y'all. We had the Red Bulls dancing in the rain under, around, and through Inter Miami. We had Gotham FC. We had the we had the Young Guns. Okay, New York Red Bull 2 going into a shootout, but able to get the win, of course, after the shootout in the extra time. Gotham FC scoring 3 points out in Portland. I mean, feeling pretty good. But then the capper, right, Miguel? The capper. 9 o'clock was probably the last soccer game in our schedule. USA versus Mexico. This is the CONCACAF Nations League Championship, or should I say the final. For those of you who really haven't followed the men's national team, they've been on a great run these last few years, right? They've been rolling out wins and we're getting trophies and everything. Gold Cups, Nation League championship. This is their third championship. But never mind the win, right? Everybody is talking about Tyler Sean Adams. That's spelled Shaan, Adams. And why is everybody talking about this? Well, talking about this man? Well, because he did this.
McKinney. Adams. My fancy hit. He goes for... Oh! Oh! That is absolutely sensational from Tyler Adams! A banger befitting of a final! The U.S. lead Mexico by a goal to nil! Tyler Adams from downtown Arlington puts his foot through the middle of this one. Nobody closing him down. Nobody expecting him to shoot. Nobody thinking Tyler Adams had this one in his bag. And what an absolute banger. This play almost looks like it's just going to continue right here. They're going to work this ball around. Tyler Adams, nobody closing him, has one thing on his mind, and oh my, does he get through the middle of it to put the U.S. up 1-0. Tyler Adams is back. Hadn't started for the U.S. in 475 days and produces that.
I've seen minimal goals scored and they yell out Golazo. That, my friend, is a true Golazo. The man scored from across the street and threw a gut punch to Mexico that they didn't see coming. Of course, Jordan Reyna, son of Claudio, he added his tally in the second half, toward the second half. And that dreaded scoreline that at this point El Trey has got to be sick of. 2-0. Estadio Unitas. So, part of it, Miguel, is pride because we've seen this guy grow up in our system, right? He went to system, played with the senior team to the point where everybody wished he stuck around. Went to Leipzig, and folks were kind of miffed about that, wondering about him going to Red Bull Leipzig. Applied his trade with with a lot of the Premier League team. Now he's with AFC Bournemouth. But he was a Red Bull ball. He'll be always remembered as a Red Bull baller through and through. And now he is the captain of the United States team. As a fan, how proud are you of this guy?
Oh, yeah. Come on. He's always going to be one of our guys. Okay. He was in the system when he was a teenager. He won that USL championship with the with that team. He was like 16. Okay. Yeah. As a matter of fact, he scored a goal. He scored a goal against Chelsea when he was 16. Okay. Yeah. But I'm so glad that he's back and playing and scoring a banger like that because he's been injured for like a long time, Garry.
Yeah, okay? A long time. And now makes this and then comes back and does this. Does that. Did you see the players that he surrounded when they surrounded him? Many of those guys were former Red Bull players.
Yeah. Come on.
It makes me happy and it frustrates me to no end at the same time, because it just shows we had a golden generation of players in the Red Bull Academy. Ballers, okay? Ballers. They're all left. They're all gone. And it was, I kept saying to myself, just imagine if we were able to hold on to maybe some of those guys. They weren't bums, okay? These guys were budding, not superstars, but budding better players, and now playing, definitely within the system and other teams, of course. It kind of, I look at that with a sense of pride as a fan, because, Miguel, those are our guys getting it done.
Yeah.
Okay. They were Red Bull ballers. Those are our guys getting it done. And then when you see that, and then you look at the organization and you go, okay, what else you got coming up? But so far, like it or not, it took a while, but we are getting some great getting some very good players to come up in the system. But that's what Red Bull does. They find diamonds in the rough, they mine them, bring them up in the system, and if they're absolutely good enough, you're going to give them a chance. Who knows? I mean, if we saw Tyler Adams as we went back then, and if he didn't have those skills, would anybody give him a chance? I would say yes. But for every Tyler Adams who was a generational player, there are hundreds of players who are unlike them. And that's why, there's a lot of feast and famine. But, Reem, I agree, Lee. Reem, Weah. We had this kid, Weah, okay?
Yeah.
Imagine if he stuck around for maybe a season or two, a cup of coffee. Maybe we win something. I mean, you bemoan endlessly about a cup, right? Winning a cup. But yet, other organizations seem to hold on to their kids just a little bit, in some cases to their detriment, right? We point out things like we constantly point out, point out other organizations. Mexico, they don't believe in development. They don't. As soon as a kid makes a mistake, they get sent down, and you never see him again. What kind of development system? And they wonder why they lose in international tournaments like this, okay? Like the one in the Nations Cup. So, yeah, I am calling out Mexico. Plus, their system is toxic, rife with corruption. Their fans, stratospheric, expectations. You win, hooray. We're all drinking Cavezas. You lose, you want to shoot the coach. Remember Tata Martino? We thought that he was going to be there for a while. Once Mexico got kicked out of the World Cup, they didn't even extend his contract. Huh? I was stunned. A lot of pundits were stunned for that. Like, you kicked him and you're bringing someone with lesser quality? And then you want to know why you don't win.
Right.
I mean, Gio.
As opposed to our program, Gary. As opposed to our program, like we keep Greg Berhalter year after year after year, no matter what. Okay,
right.
So.
I mean, the players like playing for him. I'm not going to knock that. Should we get a better coach? Maybe. Is he the guy to get? Is he the guy to get it done? I don't know. But they seem, we're winning titles with him. Okay, there's one thing you cannot deny. Say what you want about Triple G, but we're winning titles. There was a time we didn't do that. There was a time we got bounced out of the Gold Cup once, many times, by Mexico, no less. Okay. Triple G is liked by the players. They really do. Greg Berhalter, hey, he's a coach until someone says different. Now, if you get better players around him, we'll see.
Also, Gary, there was a time. Mexico, I think.
Thank you, John. He was with NYCFC. If in case you want
The
to
Gio,
know.
yeah, it was
Yeah, Gio
with NYCFC. He was
at his time.
one
His
of their
father
academy
was
players.
right. His father was the sporting director at the time while he was over there. So there you go.
Yeah, Gary. One thing I like to say is that Mexico has apparently suffered like a massive, like they've fallen off a cliff as far as talent, because there used to be a time where the Mexican players were so far and above.
Yeah.
Remember U.S. players.
Remember the golden generation they had?
Yeah.
Had. Keyword here, had generation in. They haven't since the World Cup, Miguel. They haven't been heard from since. Okay.
Yeah,
we'll see them, of course, in Copa. We're going to see them in Copa America. We're going to see them in the Gold Cup, and you'll see them in the World Cup. Will they stick around? Will they make it past, past the world in 16 in any of these? And that's just the nature of the beast right now. While we're getting better and we have better players coming up, and according to Mark, they've gotten older, and the younger ones, they're not ready. You don't develop these young guys, and you won't develop these. You won't develop these. These young guys. This Mexico team is the worst, and anyone, not just in your lifetime, Lanre. Anyone, I can't remember the last time seeing this. One thing I always remember about the Mexican team, they were not ready for prime time when it comes to the World Cup, but they were good in their region. They were basically monsters in their region. Now, they're a shell of their former selves, and it's sad. It's sad. We always paint them up as our rivals, right, Miguel? Right, Lisa? Always our rivals, and that they got a lot of people showing up. They got a lot of fans having a good time. Yeah, okay. There's that homophobic, stupid chant that they always do every kickoff. Something that needs to be ignored. But you're right about that. I've been reading. There's a lot of corruption down there when it comes to Liga MX and the national team, and that's what's holding that. And that is what's holding that crew back. Okay, non-development, corruption. Fan base is ridiculously toxic. You think our fans are toxic? Especially we read on Twitter. Go down there and sit there for a spell. You talk about unrealistic expectations. They fire coaches after a couple of losses. They send kids down, promising, down a couple of levels because they figure they can't win jack. Okay. John said it best. They haven't won anything since 2019. That's a long time. But kudos, kudos to the United States. They're getting it done and getting it done right. And, and that's, and that's me. And Jamie, in an interview, Jamie Lozano literally admitted that the U.S. is better last night. Yeah, I think you need to keep that to himself. I mean, there's some hardcore fans who also are cartel. They got a lot of money in these things, and you don't want those guys rolling up on you. So this was a terrific weekend if you were a fan. I mean, 4 wins, right? Couldn't ask a better weekend. Of course, next weekend we got Orlando. All right, Miguel, based on what you see, based on what you know, it's prediction time, our dangerous part of the show. Let's hear it, brother. Let's put it on the line. What do you see in this match?
I'm going to go with a Red Bull New York victory, Gary.
Okay.
2-1. Okay, thank you.
2-1. Okay?
Yes.
By the way, you're fourth in the standings right now, so you need to get back up.
I need to get up there.
That's right, y'all. I am dead last. I need to get some wins. All right, so based on trends and what I'm seeing right now, seeing how this team is basically hooking up, and we're going to have Forsberg back, I believe. I'm going to go with your scoreline, 2-1. It's going to be a rough game. There's going to be a lot of bump and grind. Orlando is one of those teams that don't lay down, especially at home. It's going to be warm. I don't know how, what the weather is. It's going to be warm. It's going to be humid. Some of those Scandinavian brothers, they're going to be sweaty and everything else. They're going from one. That's the one thing about our league, right? We go from one extreme to the other. Okay, so it's going to be rough. But I'm going to go 3-1. Orlando is going to get theirs. Okay, like I said, I'm at the bottom of the table. I need some wins right now. I need to pick up some points. If Forsberg is back, we're going to see a better game. I think he won't be back until FC Cincinnati. I got to check that. Got to check that for some folks, but I like the fact that we're doing more with less. Let's see some hot takes before we're basically shutting things all down. I mean, everybody basically talked about. Let me just ask you guys this, and this is to all you guys in the audience right now. I'm seeing some great feedback, and thanks very much for showing up, and giving us a whole lot of support. We appreciate you. How are you feeling about this team right now? I mean, they only have one loss. They got 3 wins. They got 2 wins, a draw, and 1 loss. Let me ask you guys, this question: how are you generally feeling about this squad? We're still taking it a little cautiously. We're taking it game by game. What's your thoughts before we shut this down? Let's hear you guys. Everyone's talking about the Rangers right now. That's another sport. Let's get back to soccer, folks. John's telling everybody that everyone should be back. Should, of course, is an operative word. We shall see. But how are you feeling about this team right now? Honestly, you like what you see? You want to wait until they get a big signing, or you're still reaching out for the panic button? Of course, Mark, always always a voice of reason. The panic button is back in the drawer. Yeah, for now. Okay. We will not be seeing the meme of, oh, we suck again. Not this week, anyone. John is saying they're a lot of fun to watch, enjoying it game by game, which is wise. Very smart, wise. Tom is saying, love the start, but more weapons are needed to sustain this season. And this is the thing that I want to put out a whole lot of caution here. I'm not saying, Miguel, we should get more weapons just because, for weapons' sake. What I'm saying is we should get more weapons because, remember, we have an issue not making the first round after the playoffs. You don't have any offense. You're not going anywhere, especially when you're going to go against stiff defenses. So it's better to get this taken care of, right now, going into the season, on a nice little roll, rather than stumbling your way into the playoffs and then hoping and praying you get past a very tough team, a number 1 seed. I don't like to see that. I don't think you like to see that either. That's why I'm saying, hey, I don't care. It doesn't necessarily have to be a box office superstar forward. Just a decent forward that knows how to, scare defenses, because we're talking about just one player. Now you got 3 and Forsberg. Okay. That's 4 players. Okay. That's 4 players you got to put your hands full. Someone's going to drop one. Okay. Lisa's telling us, hey, feeling good. I wonder if Forsberg slightly messes up the Morgan Dante vibe. I don't think so, Lisa. I really don't think so. Because if you look at it in the basketball sense, Lisa, he's your point guard. He's the guy like Sacha. He's the guy that dives in right in the middle, deep in the defenses, looks for that open man pass, and he passes like a demon. Okay. He will find Morgan. He will find Van Zier. He will find that forward. He did it a lot with Leipzig. They were dangerous when they were on the attack. Okay. Travel pass. I'm going to strangle this guy. I wish cautiously optimistic, but 1 piece short as of now. We are back to a solid playoff team, but not an MLS Cup team. You agree on that, Miguel?
Yeah, I would have to, because you're asking the wrong guy. I'm always a pessimist when it comes to the
You
playoffs. Okay.
pessimist?
Yes, I'm always a pessimist when it comes to the
Sorry.
playoffs. I'm always thinking, you know what, we're gonna lose, but I want them to prove me wrong, Gary. But you know what? I still think they need that guy up top, clinical, 20 to
Yeah.
30 goals. Okay.
Yeah, you're a
There you go.
pessimist, and I'm the cockeyed optimist. I mean, I always
Yeah.
look for the bright things. Sandro has adopted very well to MLS. Most moves have been good so far. We don't talk too much about the coach too much. Since Struber left, since Troy left, you like what you're seeing from the bench this year, Miguel?
Yeah, I am liking what I see from the bench. Okay. Is this guy better than Troy? I would have to say
Jury's
yes.
out. What?
I'm
jury's
saying
out.
yes. I'm saying yes right now, Gary. Thank you very much.
Mark is laughing at you. We also have a strong tradition of losing games that on paper we should win and win games that on paper we're supposed to lose. And I think Lisa nailed it on the head. My only expectation on this team is basically to win the game in front of them. Okay. And if they can able to do that consistently, even against the bigger teams, fans are going to notice. But if you're going to go small against teams like Columbus, well, we knew Columbus was going to be a tough sell, but we didn't expect to be walked out the building. That sort of thing. Okay. Honestly, I don't see too many teams taking down Columbus. However, they lost this weekend. Okay. Somebody managed to beat Columbus. So they're not totally invincible. And John and I share the same worry. The biggest worry for me right now is getting Edelman back on track. He wasn't good last time out. We'll have other right back options too. Edelman has been basically the missing man. I mean, so far, but Stroud has stepped up. No one has really given him a whole lot of, at props. And other midfielders and right back have stepped up. My main concern is Duncan. He's my main concern. He's hot. He's cold. I'd rather been him being hot consistently. Okay. I don't like it.
He was fantastic this past game.
Right. He was fantastic this past game, but will he be fantastic against Orlando?
Okay.
That's my point. I want to see more consistency back there. Okay. My heart has always been, my heart is always close to Duncan because he's a Brooklyn boy. I want him to succeed in the worst way. Wiki Carmona, he also deserved a lot of props. He got himself a goal and he did very well in that game. So our understudies have done well. I've never been worried about that. My only concern is the consistency. Okay. Can you keep it doing? Even if it winds up being a close loss, keep that up. I want fans to know that we have a solid team. But if we're going to go down to Orlando and lose 5-0, then something has to change. We talked to the coach and he said, okay, we're not going to talk about that game very much. Yes, we learned some lessons and stuff like that. But, I mean, you kind of like the bounce back. I mean, this is good. Next week, we shall see next week just how good this team is. And I think for the most part, folks are liking what they see, but it's a long season, boys and girls, a long season, long way between now and October. Let's see what happens. But for now, enjoy the ride because it's going to be wild. Some tells me we're going to have a wild season down the stretch. And so naturally, when you hear the music, that means us on episode 103. Next week, Lon Ray Badmus and, of course, the one and only Mark Coates will be next week as we talk about what was right, what was wrong against Orlando, plus New Jersey, New York Gotham FC, and of course the New York Red Bulls too, leading up to, of course, the U.S. Open Cup. So to everyone else who's going to the show tonight, thank you guys. Oh yeah, that too. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and Miguel during the hour. We'll all see you guys next week, as always. And of course, don't forget, if you missed this show, no problem. Everything gets uploaded the very next day on goals.tv, on our YouTube channel, and of course, Spotify.com. And for those of you who want to know when the next show comes up, hey, on our YouTube channel, like and subscribe so you can be alerted when the next one drops. Of course, if you have any questions, of course, and concerns about our little show, hey, drop us a line at NYRBDG, the podcast, at gmail.com. So that's it, boys and girls. It's going to be a fun weekend. Enjoy the rest of your week. We will see you next Monday. For Miguel Nunez and myself, Garry Redmond, thanks so much for joining us. We will see you next week. Goodbye for now.